Hello, I'm David Conroy, a security consultant with Bouncertraining in Ireland. Welcome to our video on conflict management. When working in security, conflict is inevitable. Where it is best to be able to handle yourself in these situations, it is best to be able to de-escalate it. The best way to do this is to have command presence. This comes from having confidence, being able to be assertive, and be in control, and be seen to be in control. Let people know you're in control. The causes of conflict are peer pressure, embarrassment, ego, frustration, and lack of rational thinking from drinking drugs. It's very important to be able to empathise and to be able to be aware of these causes and to be able to relate to how they feel. And to be able to empathise with the people as conflict escalates, it's important to be able to empathise and to be able to recognise how they feel. And that's a very big part of being able to de-escalate the situation, is awareness, empathy, how they feel. I would like to introduce a way of thinking, a system of thinking called the pre-mortem, to deal with stressful situations. Because when you're working in security, conflict causes stress. Conflict is very stressful. When the brain perceives the body to be in a stressful environment, it releases cortisol and adrenaline. This is a bad mix, because cortisol is toxic. Cortisol changes your perspective. You lose all rational thinking, and the fight or flight hormone kick in. Now, when the fight or flight hormone kick in, what happens after that is anybody's guess. It depends on the individual. But in a lot of cases with bouncers, if the fight or flight hormone kick in with the adrenaline, and when the adrenaline kicks in, it can all get very messy. And when the mist clears, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So it's important to be able to have a system in place to deal with stress. The system I'm proposing and would like to introduce is the pre-mortem. We all know what a post-mortem is. It's where you look at what went in the event of having something having gone wrong, you look to see what went wrong. The pre-mortem is the direct opposite. With the pre-mortem way of thinking, we preempt stressful situations and we ask ourselves, we have our thinking done. We say to ourselves, on recognising that cortisol completely does away with all rational thinking, what we do is we have our thinking done before the stressful situation occurs. In other words, that's the beauty of our training. Not only do we do your thinking, we do your reaction, because all our training is done through scenario and role play. So you not only know, it's a very good indication, first of all, when you come to do our training, it's a very good indication, first of all, of how you react. And then it's a good indication of how you should react. And you'll be able to get a good indication of how you do react. And not only will you have your thinking done on how you're going to think, you will have your thinking done on how you're going to react to any given situation. When we go on to the next stage, where we'll do working on the front door, we will do several scenarios, as you will see, several scenarios and situations that we have put together from experience. And we try to cover nearly the majority of the situations, but a lot of them, the same thinking and reactions will apply. It's very unusual that anybody will burst into violence. There's usually a build-up or stages of escalation. The best doormen come into their own and in their ability to be able to identify these stages of escalation and to be able to deal with them, to de-escalate before it comes to violence. The best doormen are able to de-escalate the situation before it ever gets to violence. So we now look at the stages of escalation. They are calm when they come up to the door. And as I say, asking somebody to leave or refusing entry will evoke all the things that the feelings that I expressed earlier on. But stage of escalation, this is what you watch for. Calm, and then goes to frustration. They start to get frustrated when they refuse entry or they're asked to leave. And then the next stage would be anger. So the first three we can usually deal with through mediation and de-escalation. The second two, if it escalates then to aggression and on to violence, we may need control or restraint or exit. What exit means is, in the event that you bring somebody out of the club and you let them go at the door and you say good night to you, sir. When they kick off and you are the focus of their anger and their aggression and they're there giving it loads, you, this, you, that, we've all seen it. Since you are the focus of all their attention, their aggression, and all their aggression, the best thing to do in this situation is leave it to the men at the door who are doing the door and aren't the focus of their aggression. And you just leave them at the door and go in. Often I have seen it where the doorman brings somebody out, and then they're the focus of all their aggression, and they stand there giving it back. Never treat aggression with aggression, or you can be sure of one thing. There's a very good chance of it escalating to violence. Never treat aggression with aggression. It's very important to stay cool and calm and in control. We will now look at the best way to react to these stages of escalation. The best way to react to the stages of escalation, first of all, is be confident. As I said earlier, if you have your training done, and enough training done, this is where the confidence comes from, being able to handle the situation, even in the event of it goes to violence. Because you have your control and your restraint, you have your de-escalation techniques, you have your control and restraint, but you know that no matter what happens, that you're going to be in control. You have it. Very important to be assertive. Now, the reason I started bouncer training is because the amount of doormen that I see on doors that are just not assertive. If it's a case that they don't go for a piss when they see a big lad coming up the street, they're standing here looking at their If you dress the wrong man like that, I don't know, you're kicking about and you're unsure, he's going to smell fear. And if they smell fear, they're going to act on it. Trust me on this. So you have to be very assertive. I'm sorry, sir, not tonight. And then if they insist and everything else, again, it's important to be assertive. Not tonight, sir, maybe another night, but you won't be able to come in tonight. And it's very important that you're clear and distinct in your instruction. You can't at any stage be seen to be in any will we say anxious. Would be a good word. You can't be seen to be anxious. You must be confident and assertive. That's the first things you must be when it comes to de-escalating or avoiding conflict. Respect. This for me is huge. I use the word sir a lot. Good night to you, sir. Good night to you, sir. Good night, sir. I hope you enjoy your night. I'm sorry, sir, but you won't be able to come in tonight. Maybe another night, sir, not tonight. I use sir a lot because sir is an indication of respect. And if you treat everybody with respect, it really does lower the chances of conflict. If someone's being nice to you, it's hard to be aggressive with them. It really is. I treat everybody with respect. Everybody. If you don't treat people with respect, it can lead to a fight very easy. Control. Now, we do a whole thing, and I'm developing a thing at the moment on mindset and mindfulness. And this is different breathing techniques and everything else. But if you do the control and restraint and you have the pre-mortem done, if you apply the system of thinking, the pre-mortem, where you have your thinking done, how you're going to think and how you're going to react, you should be able to stay in control. Because there's no flustered. You're not going to get the the causes of conflict, the embarrassment, the ego, the frustration, because your thinking is all done. You know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to react and how you're going to deal with the situation. You actually not only have your done, but if you come and do our training, you have your training done. And you should have your training done and trained to an extent that's secondary thinking. It doesn't have to be conscious thinking. It only has to be conscious thinking in the training. How you're first thinking, how will I react? After this, you should train this enough and practice it enough that you don't even have to think about it. It becomes secondary thinking. This is how I react to this situation. Empathy, as I said earlier, is very important. Again, on empathy, if somebody comes up to the door, and in my experience, they'd often say to you, "Oh, fuck's sake, this is my first. I'm after coming all the way down from Dublin. Oh, don't do this to me. I'm after meeting this one on Tinder." You get all the excuses. Empathy is very important. I know. That's terrible. Yeah, that's terrible. And if I could do anything for you, I would. And you might be able to come in another night, but just not tonight, sir. Just not tonight. Maybe another night. But be able to empathise, know how to feel. Be able to say to them, I know this is terrible. But if somebody is empathising with you and someone can see your point of view, it's very hard to be aggressive with them. It's very hard. Where's it going to go? If he's been nice to you and he's saying, I know how you feel, this is terrible. It's very hard to be aggressive with you. In the event, and as the Theta said, there's always one that continues to escalate the violence, often through peer pressure. Somebody, his mates standing beside him going, hit him. You know what I mean? There's always one, and you have to be prepared for this, and you have to be able to watch for this, and you have to be able to recognise when it is escalating to violence. If we've gone past the first three and we're now on to the aggression and violence, at the first sign of aggression, it's very, very important, as I do throughout this whole video, to talk with your hands. They basically don't have them here, and definitely don't have them here. The place to have your hands is here, where I had them throughout this video, and talk with them in a non-aggressive manner like this. Because now where are your hands if you need them? If he goes to strike you, you can block. You can block a strike. You can go for a restraint. You can protect your face, even if you also want to do that. The flinch technique, where you want to step into him, you want to block your face and step into him. But your hands are where you need them. And the amount of lads that I see doing doors, that I say to myself, if that man's not careful, he's going to end up in the hallway to my elbow. You don't have them here. Again, assertive, confident, have your training done. At the first sign of violence, just in a non-aggressive manner, just have them where you want them. That's a very important tip. In our next video, we will go into, if it does escalate to violence, how to deal with it. Our next video is on proper use of force, and we do use of force continuum and threat zones. I will teach you how to defend your personal space, because that is so important. And the amount of lads that I see doing doors that cannot defend their personal space, they let people into their face. You never let anyone into your face. It's just way too dangerous. Way too dangerous. You must keep the way you see them. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. And we're going to go through, as I say, proper use of force and threat zones. So till our next video, thank you very much.